Hi everyone, welcome to our Knowledge Up Sunday again. Today we've got Therese Stanton from Life Estate Planning Lawyers. She's based in North Ryde and we're going to discuss a few topics today. So the first one being the difference between holding joint tenants and tenants in common with property and everything. I'm sure Therese is going to explain more, so I'll let her do the talking now.
Hi everybody. So, joint tenancy and tenancy in common are ways in which property can be held in New South Wales, and there are some fine differences. And I also wanted to talk to you today too about why it's vital to have a will in place despite which way you own your property. So as I mentioned, joint tenancy and tenancy in common deals with property, but let's go back a little bit there. Property is essentially not just the bricks and mortar that you own.
And I think everyone thinks of it that way too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you know it's also your bank accounts, the cash that you own, shares that you own, and also your personal belongings?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's all of that. And we can own it jointly. And when I talk about jointly, I mean each tenant or owner jointly holds the property with a right of survivorship. Now, what that right of survivorship actually means is that when that person who owns something dies, their interest automatically is passed to the surviving tenant as owner. Yeah. It means that their property can't actually be passed to somebody else in their will unless they become the remaining sole owner of that property.
Okay, so that's the joint tenants.
Yes, yeah.
That's the joint tenants.
Exactly. So with tenancy in common, that's a common form of co-ownership where property is held commonly with other people. Effectively, a tenant in common doesn't have a right of survivorship.
Okay.
So their property is actually given by their will, and it means on their death that their estate will not actually pass to the other tenant, even if they own it.
So say for instance, I held a property with someone else and I own 50% of it.
Yeah.
The 50%, and if I was to pass away, I can choose to give to someone else.
Yes,
it's
in
not
your
like
will.
by default it's going to go to the other person who owns the property with me.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And similarly, their part can go to
Their
whoever
part
they
can
want.
go.
Now you might ask the question, well, what if they don't have a will? And that's really important because if someone dies intestate, that actually means without a will.
Without a will.
That's right.
Yep.
Their estate is distributed according to the intestacy laws. So some people might actually find that quite confronting because it might not have been the way that they intended for somebody to receive their estate or where they wanted it to go. So effectively what you really need to understand when it comes to wills is whatever way you hold property in New South Wales, it's really vital that you do actually have a will in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you might own a combination of property as joint tenants, as an individual, or as tenants in common in your estate. So if you died without a will, part of your estate may actually be intestate, and that part of your estate...
And that's very important to consider as well, given the fact that without a will, nothing happens after that and you're leaving it in the hands of others to make the decision for you.
And that can really create a lot of uncertainty for your loved ones. It's very important that you are able to provide that certainty. Your will provides a very clear statement of your intentions. Even if there is a dispute in your estate, the court will give the greatest consideration and prioritise your intentions in their determination.
Okay. That's good to know. So that's a good understanding between joint tenants as well as tenants in common, which we see in all our property contracts, as well as like Therese mentioned now, it relates to every other property that we hold in terms of cash, joint bank accounts, everything there. And it's good to also, reiterate something I think we've highly believed in with myself and Alen, where we always talk about holding a will, and it's so important. And Therese is reiterating the same fact that it is important always for us to go with it.
It is vital. Thank you.
No, thanks so much for that, Therese.
Thanks.